We are gathered with a bunch of wonderful people from all over the world, and we're here to discuss drinking sustainably in 2020 and what that means. First and foremost, this is our first ever virtual expo. Sadly, in a perfect world, we would have all of you at the Metropolitan Pavilion and we would be eating and drinking together, enjoying kampais. But given the fact that we're in a pandemic, the virtual version will have to suffice. But again, we're now on our third seminar of the day. The first two were about warming sake and shochu, and also food and sake pairings together. And this seminar is about sustainability in sake and cocktails. Please don't forget to join us the following week. We're doing some other virtual expo demonstrations for both our knives and our non-food items, as well as for food. And so please don't forget to join us for these wonderful events as well. Also, stick with us to the end because we are hosting a live raffle for anyone who's participating as a guest, and somebody's walking out of here with a really lovely set of Japanese cups that are not even available outside of Japan. So please stick with us, and hopefully my fingers are crossed for you in the winning. And note that we are dealing with, obviously, Zoom, which has a variety of different potential effects on sound and image. So bear with us if we have any technical difficulties. And more importantly than anything, please remember that we really want you to engage with the subject and ask us any questions. That's what we're here for, certainly not just to speak in one direction. So please ask us any questions you do have. I'm joined today by three of my fellow coworkers at New York Mutual Trading: Rachel Fikowski, Sarah Guterbach, and Masai Kusada. Rachel and Sarah have already done their webinars today, and Masai's been acting as a moderator for all three. So we're all here and we're very excited, so konbanwa. Secondly, we are joined by some marvelous presenters today, the first of which is a group of people who are going to address the idea of a sustainable cocktail, which has been curated and created by none other than Andy May of Rule of Thirds in Brooklyn. And we are joined by a team of wonderful people from Kuramoto Ice who are going to talk about their products from Kanazawa. And we are actually joined by the mayor of Kanazawa today, Yamano-san. This is great. Thank you so much for being here. Our second group of presenters come from two different breweries. One is Asahi Shuzo in Niigata, and the other is Izumibashi in Kanagawa. And we're joined by Gomi-san, Endo-san, and Ito-san of Asahi Shuzo from Kubota, and they will be the first to present. And then we'll be joined by Yuichi Hashiba, Hashiba-san being the sort of sixth generation president of Izumibashi, and Kayo-san, who's his North American representative and brand ambassador. Okay, so let's jump right into it. When we're talking about sustainability in 2020, we're not just simply talking about the environment, we're also talking about society and economics, and the intersection of all three of those things being the quote unquote most important and sustainable thing. Another way to look at it is 3 Ps: people, profit, and planet. And again, right in the middle of all that is what we're trying to look for, because say you're a really wonderful brand and you do everything right from a sustainability and conservation standpoint, but you can't make money and you don't work well with people, that product isn't going to do anything in the market. And right now, more than ever in this pandemic, it's about coming together and working collectively to solve problems so that we can all remain profitable and keep our companies afloat. First of all, as an importer distributor here in the United States, we work with getting product from Japan, and we first anchor it in New Jersey, which is quite a distance. And this is a huge part of the equation. Of course, carbon footprint is something that we talk about in sustainability, but we must just kind of understand that before we start with any products today, this relationship between Japan and New Jersey is sort of the beginning of our story. Then from New Jersey, we go out into sort of the greater boroughs, distributing to Manhattan, Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, and Staten Island locally. And you know, this is really a verdant playground for experimental and innovative ideas in beverage, specifically today, sustainable beverage, focusing on Japanese alcohol. Joined today by Andy May of Rule of Thirds, which is a new restaurant and a modern American izakaya in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. And again, just to talk about the distance of product moving, we're talking about 7,000 miles or 11,000 kilometers. And the 10 most difficult feat to move this product is really sort of at the end when you're looking at those ishobin in the center of the dining room and the patrons who are at the bar. That's where the hard work comes. And back on people, we really rely on super passionate and knowledgeable hospitality professionals to execute this job for us. Without them, none of this is possible. So the first P, of course, being sort of the planet. We're going to focus first on brand sustainability and just people who are really trying to make an effort to stand out in that space. First with sake, we speak about sustainability kind of in 4 quadrants: rice, water, koji, and people. On the back of our labels, you'll notice that we have, for certain producers, a really fun set of criteria in isolating what we look for or what we're trying to advocate for in the sustainable space. In the first, that criterion is that we're looking at gluten-free and no preservative products that see no additives. We were joined earlier by Nanbu Bijin, which is another one of our breweries that's vegan friendly, but this just meaning there's no animal products used. In this instance of Senkin Kame no O Junmai Dai Ginjo, we're dealing with a locally grown rice. And then just isolating with all of our products, which are Junmai, and today we're dealing with 2 breweries that make Junmai sake. We're dealing with rice, water, and koji. Suffice it to say, the government doesn't let us put everything on the label, and there's a lot of things that we cannot say, and that's really where the majority of the magic is when it comes down to the brands that we're focusing on today and in general. So water, again, from the sky, filtered through the ground, and then pulled up for use in a myriad of different forms. But starting with pure water is kind of like the basis of what makes this product so unbelievably sustainable in the market in general. And then there's sake brewing rice. There's a lot of things that you could talk about in the sake brewing rice space, but I think some things to focus on are that unlike vineyards where grapes are harvested annually to produce wine, sake fields must be manually replanted every single year, and that's usually done by hand, right? And also, unlike eating rice, you know, sake brewing rice is about 1% of what's grown in Japan, 99% is eating rice. Sake brewing rice is not a commercialized agricultural product. It really is a highly skilled set of artisan farmers who labor every year to produce this really, really special rice, which we are allowed to make sake from. And that's a really important feature of sustainability for sake brewing rice as well. And last but not least, when we talk about sort of the milling of the rice and then also the fermentation of the rice, there's a lot of byproducts that come from that production space. And suffice it to say, there is no waste involved. It's all utilized in one way or another, depending upon the brewery. Then there's kojikin, Aspergillus oryzae, the yellow kojikin, or the national fungus of Japan. Without this magical creature, sake doesn't exist. And you know what you need to know about it is it's a local mold native to Japan, and that once applied to sort of milled, washed, and cleaned rice, this mold creates an enzyme which then converts the starches to sugar, allowing us to ferment sake. And then, again, you know, the word natural is a bit ambiguous, but suffice it to say this is a very pure product and pure mold. Then there's methods of Kimoto and Yamahide. Today we're going to talk to 2 producers who make both. But the difference, which is important to focus on, is that there is no lactic acid added to the initial mashing for the fermentation of this product. That lactic acid, through Kimoto and Yamahide methods, are accrued in the airstream, and it takes a longer process to make these products, but they're incredibly important to this sort of conversation of sustainable brewing methods and just traditional brewing methods in general for Japan. This here is Kiku Masamune Shuzo and their Kimoto style. Also, another really important word is junmai. Junmai in this case, just meaning pure or no additive sake, is one of the cleanest and purest alcohols on the planet. You're not allowed to add sulfur to any of the Tokei Taimei Shoshu, pardon my pronunciation, but the highly classified styles of sake. You can't add any sulfur or really anything outside of, again, water, rice, and koji. And then there's, again, so many things that we don't see on the label, but we'll just say that that's where the conversation gets interesting is, you know, these are just broad strokes of what make these products sustainable, but there's so much more going on. And we highly encourage you to take the subject a little further if you're in the mood to. Now there's the people component of this, which is namely the KURABITO, or the brewery workers, under the leadership of the Toji, or the brewmaster. And all of these people are responsible for that product, again, making the leap over the ocean and landing here in the US so that we can work with all these cool products in our own local economies, and with great people like Andy at Rule of Thirds. Now, to jump ship a little bit into sustainability in spirits, Japan is one of these incredible places where there's so much modesty that goes into the production of what's known as honkaku shochu, principally made of rice, barley, potatoes, sugarcane, buckwheat. But suffice it to say, it's one of the purest and most sustainable spirits on the planet. The beginning stages of the fermentation obviously involve koji, which I mentioned before is a native mold to Japan, but we'll call that pure malting, which is the base of the fermentation, which will then be distilled. Again, water that's really pure and local, no additives, and then a highly focused regionalism insofar as the plants involved for making these spirits. Looking at where these spirits come from, we're looking to Kyushu. Kyushu being sort of the southernmost region of Japan. This here is a beautifully active volcano in Kagoshima called Sakurajima. And yeah, this is the land of spirits from southern Japan. Breaking down regionally where things are coming from, for Saga, Fukuoka, Oita, Iki, we're dealing for the most part with mugi spirits. There are some examples of other plants, but for the most part, in broad strokes, mugi coming from this area. Kumamoto, sort of in the center of Kyushu, is sort of the land of rice spirits. Miyazaki is, again, you see a lot of mugi and also imo, but this is also where we see buckwheat or soba coming from, which is super cool. And then Kagoshima is sort of the land of sweet potato spirits, and that previous slide with the active volcano, this is Kagoshima. So that all brings us to the point of asking the question, what is a sustainable cocktail and what does it mean to be drinking green in an era of industrialized cocktails? Well, there's a lot that goes into this question, and so we're gonna start to unpack that. Cheers. Joining us today is a guy named Andy May, a very talented young man who works in Greenpoint, Brooklyn at, like I said, this incredibly new modern American izakaya called Rule of Thirds. This is a photo of Andy that I took at Osuzuyama in Miyazaki Prefecture last October. Andy was the runner-up in a shochu cocktail competition we host annually called Spirited Away, which was, of course, canceled this year due to COVID. But this is one of many reasons why Andy is so central to this conversation. Is his deep exposure, passion, and also just love of these handcrafted and sustainable spirit products from Japan. Andy is going to make a cocktail today from a spirit made in Okinawa. Mentioned Kyushu in the very south. Okinawa's the very, very bottom, and is sort of a tropical Caribbean-like climate in the south of Japan. And the spirit that Andy's making or choosing to make his cocktail from today comes from Okinawa. Specifically, this spirit comes from an island called Minamidaito, which, as the crow flies, is about 470 kilometers off the coast of the mainland of Okinawa, on this teeny island with less than 2,000 people that live on it. It's an island that's prone to windswept typhoons. And on this island, a woman named Kinjo-san created a brand called Grace Rum, which is a native sugarcane rum company, or as she likes to call it, awamori company. The product itself is made from 1.5 year old sugarcane stalks that are harvested by hand. And this is about the size of those plants. And to talk about what makes this product so sustainable, I mean, there's so many different things to go into here. It's really hard to unpack at once, but because there's no water supply, this is made of desalinated ocean water, which the first time you taste this product, the saltiness is just kind of jumping out at you. And again, that water source being ocean water is such an interesting feature of this product. You've got native plants, aka sugarcane. There are no additives. It's fermented once and distilled. And I'm gonna let Andy go wild with this in just a few seconds, but basically this is the most fragrant and flavorful spirit I've probably ever had in my life that's not aged. Because of course this is just done in tank, it's clear, but there is so much to unpack in this spirit. Conjoining to that marvelous spirit, Andy is going to incorporate a shiso syrup made in the Hudson River Valley by a husband and wife couple. They started this farm as a passion project. They grow 1 acre each of red and green shiso. And from it, they make 2 different syrups. One is green and one is red. And today, Andy's gonna focus on the red syrup in his cocktail. Again, to talk a little bit about what makes this brand super sustainable, they're growing their shiso locally with no pesticides, herbicides. It's irrigated with pure groundwater. The farm is hand-tilled and hand-harvested, and the product itself is stabilized with a vinegar they make of aging the shiso leaves in vinegar for about a year. And Andy's going to talk a little bit about vinegar and salt as a preservative agent, which has its own bearing on the conversation of sustainability in just a moment. Then marrying to that, Andy is going to use some sudachi juice, which sudachi is a yuzu clone. This comes from Japan. It's also stabilized with a little bit of vinegar. So once opened, it's shelf stable. Sudachi's, it kind of looks like a lime, but it's classified as an orange because the interior flesh is orange and the exterior is green. But it's an extremely acidic and lightly savory citrus plant. And Andy will talk about how it works in the conversational space of his drink again in just one moment. Again, I'm about to turn the floor over to Andy here. Andy is joining us from Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Andy, what's up?
Hello, everybody. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. It is such a pleasure to, share space with everyone. I know it's been a long time since we've kind of sat across the table from one another, and so I'm very happy to just, even if it's virtual, share the space with you all. So thank you for having me. Before we even go into the cocktail, let's just have a little cheers because Mondays are always long days, right? Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Now, thank you, Maxwell, so much for this lovely introduction. My name is Andy May. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, and now currently I work in lovely Greenpoint, Brooklyn at Rule of Thirds. We opened up back in February, I believe 5 weeks before the pandemic really sunk its teeth in on March 15th. And so we were kind of going through the hoops of opening a brand new restaurant, a new bar, and trying to figure out our footing until all of a sudden we could no longer do so. And since then, that long break has given us some time to rethink and change our measures and figure out some stuff for us along the way. And so now we're very fortunate with outdoor dining being going to continue on into the new year and hopefully the foreseeable future. Right now we do about just over 200 people for dinner last night, as well as 200 people for lunch in the morning time. So quite a lot of folks come through this building throughout the week. And so to be able to share shochu, sake, and all sorts of other Japanese spirits and food and beverage is just a complete honor. So let's go into this drink a little bit. Maxwell talked a little bit about Core Red, and so today's cocktail I call the Aka October, aka Red October. But yeah, the reason why I chose this Core Red was because it's just such a bold, enticing flavor that you're not gonna get really anywhere else. We're seeing now that cocktails and to-go cocktails are a necessity through a lot of bars and restaurants. So to be able to produce a cocktail that is one sustainable, but also that it tastes good, and that's the overall goal that we're trying to achieve. So 3/4 of an ounce of Core Red is all you really need for this Aka October. Next, we're gonna go with a 1/2 ounce of the sudachi juice. So as Maxwell said, sudachi is kind of like an orange but with an acidity more like a lime. And with that vinegar, it really heightens the acid component. So you don't really need much to have it shine in a cocktail, as well as to balance the cocktail. So half an ounce of that. But it also keeps, it's a preservative. In the 17th century, a lot of folks were using shrubs and such before milk punches were becoming popular. And so that you were able just for one day, make a giant batch of booze and hooch for your friends and family, and then just keep it in the fridge, keep it out. It will stay fresh, stay good, and interesting. So after some sudachi and a little bit of korkor, we talked about desalinization, or pulling seawater out of spirits, because you can't drink seawater, of course, it's gonna make you go crazy. But using salt as an ingredient is something that I think a lot of bartenders sometimes forget about. We're playing with acids, we're playing with sugar, we're playing with spirits, but a little salt goes a long way. And I think just a touch of that in your daiquiris, even your mezcal negronis can really open up these flavors that are kind of hidden inside. So a great saline solution is just equal parts salt and water, as I have here, and one dash is just enough. You know, you don't want to go too crazy. You don't want a salt bomb or a tortilla chip in your mouth. You want a lovely drink. From there, we're going to go into Korkor Red, or not Korkor Red, Red Shiso, as Maxwell was talking about earlier from Hudson Valley. These two are just such fun folks. I mean, you saw some of the photos that Maxwell showed earlier, and utilizing 2 acres of land to kind of what's it called? Use it for such an amazing product that is so hard to come by in New York City is just so awesome. So 3/4 of an ounce of cork or of red shiso syrup, and then finally my favorite sustainable kind of citrus that I like to use is the pineapple. As you see over here, I love pineapple so much. Because you can utilize it not only for juice. I think fresh pineapple juice is such an amazing ingredient. It lasts longer than lemon or lime juice. You can keep it in the fridge. You can utilize the tops of them as garnish components. The fronds can pop off fairly easily, and you just get some crazy scissors and trim them up, and they become just another garnish component. Likewise, with the skin, you can skin them and wrap them around, you know, the tops of glasses and whatnot. Have fun with it. You know, we're in a pandemic. Everyone just wants some fun, really. You can core them and utilize them on top of glasses too, as we do for some of our to-go drinks. So an ounce of pineapple juice is all you really need to get the ball rolling.
Andy, what's the total ABV of this drink?
With Korkor being 40%, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I would say it's gonna come down after dilution and temperature change, as well as the ingredients, probably less than 20%, maybe just a little bit higher than your natural wines. I would say in the 16% ABV range. It's not gonna knock you off your floor. As a matter of fact, I think what we're seeing now trending in New York City for sure is that low ABV cocktails are kind of where people are gravitating towards. The bamboo has seen its resurgence. Apertiki is something that I heard of, an aperitif and tiki-esque cocktail. So folks are starting to drink not so shot heavy, not so booze heavy. They're almost wanting to pair their drinks with their food, and that's what we have to do now anyways. I mean, per New York state law, you have to sell some sort of food with your alcoholic beverage, so why not make it kind of, you know, enjoy it, have fun with it. You can pair chips with cocktails now. It's kind of incredible. So low ABV, I think, is something that we can kind of lean into now, and we're not trying to get people boozed out. They can do that at home. They can go to their liquor shops. I have definitely done that in the last 6 months, as I've consumed so much more just straight spirits, cases and cases of wine. It's just such an easier thing to do in my own home, that when I do find myself going out and spending my hard-earned money, I want it to be something tasty, not something that's gonna you know, make me regret my night. So yeah, after all these drinks, we're gonna go finally to the amazing Kuramoto ice, as I, well, as I have here. I mean, this is just incredible clear ice that Naoto-san is gonna talk a little bit more about, but just adding a little bit of ice in there in your drinks because you need that temperature change. It's a lot harder with tweezers. Luckily, I have a
That
second.
ice is really gorgeous. It's like a shard of glass or crystal.
Yeah, and it sounds so beautiful in the glass too. I mean,
Oh, it does. You
I
don't
don't
get
know
that.
if you guys can hear that too. And yeah, so just a little bit of ice will go a long way. Here we are.
For those of you watching Andy perform magic right now, he's shaking with a Yukiwa cobbler, which is one of the oldest barware companies from Japan.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, one of my favorite jiggers that they have too is this incredible thing that just popped out of the shelf for me at Bar Times in Ginza when I was fortunate enough to travel out there with Maxwell. Here we are, Aka October.
So
How's
Andy,
it taste?
Beautiful.
yeah, will you tell us how long, you know, if you spec'd this cocktail out, if you batched it, how long would it last for you?
I think for me, you can definitely label it as a cocktail that can last upwards to 2 months. And it's going to be interesting to see where it develops and how it develops as you batch it through. But yeah, so something like this where you have a program and you're able to have one day where you prep, you know, you do your ordering, you do your inventory, and then you batch this amazing cocktail for especially smaller places. This is such a lovely thing to just keep on the back bar for when your special guests come and give you a visit. Something that can pair great with food. I mean, that red shiso just is so earthy and lovely. The pineapple gives it just like a nice subtle sweetness. And then you have the sudachi in there, which is this orange tangerine kind of thing. And then the salt just brings it all back just a little bit. So it's just something that really transcends flavors as far as what a traditional daiquiri can do. And this is my, you know, variation on a pineapple daiquiri.
I'm a
So
very
yeah,
big fan of the fact that every single component of this cocktail has a story too. If the customer has a question or if the customer is somebody who wants to know what they're drinking, that's a whole conversation they can have with their service providers.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, if anything, what we've been missing the last 6 months is our community, our friends, our families that are out of, you know, the first circle of the immediate, but just the people that we see on a day-to-day, our male men and women, you know, our teachers. So I was talking to Maxwell a little bit before this seminar. I was like, I just want people to start thinking a little bit differently about cocktails and the idea that I'm going to try and teach someone to fish. So if anything, if you take anything away from this, is just try and be more mindful on who your spirits are coming from or where they're coming from, who and where you're getting your syrups. Can you make this? Sure, but it's much more challenging. It's going to create, you're not going to do it as well as I think. I can't make red shiso syrup like the guys at Hudson Valley. So, you know, community is just a big thing that I hope if when we come back from this, that we still remember that if it wasn't for our community, we wouldn't be here now.
Totally. And I know you're going to let Naoto talk a little bit about the ice, but can you, from just like a simple, pragmatic, you know, barkeeper standpoint, like highlight why using that kachiwari over, say, normal, say, big block ice is so essential to showcasing the pure flavors of all of the ingredients that you've selected?
Yeah, absolutely. You can see it here right now, how clear it is, how dense it is. The ice from Kuramoto, and why we can definitely use ice from 100 weight in New York City, but there's a huge difference in that one, Kuramoto, their energy expense expense for making this ice is just so much lower. Using a Kleinbell machine is just so energy taxing. And to create an interesting product, one, you could get one or the other, but also with this Kachiwari ice is that it's so dense and it stays colder longer than any ice that I've seen, especially the ones that I try and make in my fridge. The mineral content in the ice is much lower. We talked a little bit about how ice has become such an important ingredient that from the early 2000s to now, you're seeing people shake with so many crazy contraptions of ice. So it's a lot denser. Think of shaking your hotel chip ice or even your cold draft ice as like shaking a drink with toothpicks. And then shaking something with kachiwari is like shaking it with broken up pencils. It is just so much denser, and you're gonna get greater aeration. You're gonna get a stronger temperature change and lower dilution. And so that is just such an important aspect to kind of consider when you're making cocktails, and especially when you're making cocktails to go, is you want that drink to taste just as good as when it first hits the glass. And so when it dilutes so incredibly fast, when you leave your local bar and to take the drink home, that's just something to kind of factor in when you're creating drinks, especially now when people are able to kind of take it home.
So for anybody in our customer base watching right now, the Kachiwari ice and the Kuramoto ice, we're about to jump into a presentation from them, but I want you to know that it's going to be Mutual Trading's first time carrying these, and we're going to be taking pre-orders for the New York area today. So, yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
Andy, we can't thank you enough for taking the time and for making this drink. It's awesome. And we've already got people in the chat space hitting us up saying it's awesome. So so thank you so much, really. It means the world to us that you could join us today and share some light about who you are, what you do, and why it matters. So thank you.
Absolutely, guys. So wherever you're at, stay happy, stay healthy. And if you're in the Brooklyn area, please come hang out with me at Rule of Third sometime. My Instagram handle is Andy Con Leche, ANDYCONLECHE. You can feel free to, if you have more questions, if you want to be talk to me on a more personal level, feel free to just reach out over there. And until we sit across from each other at a bar again, kampai.
All right, Nato-san, we are up to you now. Please take the floor on Kuramoto Ice.
All right. Thanks so much for the introduction, and thank you, Andy-san, for awesome cocktail demonstration and featuring our Kuramoto Ice. Again, my name is Naoto. I'm a founder of Kuramoto Ice USA. You can see the screen, right? Okay, yeah. Cool. All right, so I'll start introduction about our company and play a little movie clip. So we're a family-owned business founded in 1923 by Mr. Jintaro Kuramoto. And Kuramoto is a family name and not related with Japanese word Kuramoto, meaning brewery owner. So we built this state-of-the-art facility back in 2015. And our production capacity is like 10 tons a day, which is about 22,000 pounds every single day. And we're one of the oldest ice manufacturer, but also we have one of the newest and cleanest ice plants in Japan. And we pay great attention to food safety, so you can use our ice with confidence. So this is where we harvest the 300-pound ice, and we cut out into all different shapes. You can see how clear it is. right? And again, we're based out in Kanazawa City in Ishikawa Prefecture. And we actually have a city mayor, Mr. Yamano, joining from Japan. So, よろしくお願いします。カズ、ミュート外してください。
Greetings. My name is Yukiyoshi Yamano, the mayor of Kanazawa City in Ishikawa Prefecture, Japan. Today, I'm very grateful for this opportunity to introduce you all to Kanazawa. Kanazawa can be found in the heart of Japan. The city can be reached via high-speed train from both Tokyo and Osaka in around 2.5 hours. Since its establishment by the samurai daimyo 440 years ago, Kanazawa has been fortunate to avoid major damage caused by war or natural disaster. As a result, it has come to be known as a peaceful city with a historical cityscape and deep connections to traditional culture. The city contains one of Japan's most famous landscape gardens, Kenrokuen. On the other hand, Kanazawa is also heavily engaged in the continuation and promotion of food culture. In fact, our local cuisine contains numerous unique qualities, including fresh seafood and mountain ingredients sourced from rich nature, sake crafted using pure water, and an ingrained culture of hospitality. I hope that once we overcome the global coronavirus disaster, that I can someday meet you all here in Kanazawa, a city that cherishes food, culture, and traditions. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yamano. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so here I'm going to talk about the ice. Can you switch it to my screen, Rachel? Thank you. So our ice is made. Oh, thank you.
Go ahead and start sharing again.
Oh, I'll just show the ice in here.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, our ice is made with beautiful Kanazawa local water, and it's clear as this. And if we compare with like the ice, this is the ice that I made in my home freezer with the mold. So we freeze very slowly, and it takes like 48 to 72 hours to make a roll block that you saw earlier in the movie clip, which results in the exceptional clarity. And so what this cloudy part, this white part, it's made out of micro air bubbles and minerals. So what does mineral do is that basically mineral could be, impurity, and you don't want to add off flavors to your cocktails. And our ice doesn't have any off flavors. And also, since there are micro air bubbles in this type of the ice, our ice is much denser. So meaning it's very slow melting. So you can enjoy your drink for longer without diluting much. So if you're drinking high-end whiskeys or spirit-forward cocktails, you want to use very nice ice. Or you can of course enjoy with shochu or even sake. I like drinking sake on the rock, especially like genshu. It's very nice during the summer, right? And also, Mr. Kuramoto is joining from Japan to show us different types of the ice. Can you switch the screen to Mr. Kuramoto again? カズお願いします。
はい。Hello, my name is Kazuhiko Kuramoto. よろしくお願いします。
お願いします。
お願いします。Alright, so here he has a cube ice that I had earlier, the same shape, which is nice on cocktails. And this is the stick type. This is nice on carbonated drinks like gin tonic or Japanese style highballs. And spheres, this look amazing. This is nice on high-end whiskeys. Of course, spirits for cocktails. And lastly but not least, this is our kachiwari ice. This is our bread and butter, like our signature product. So this has random organic shapes, and this is like connected with our wabi-sabi concept. And here we have an embossed stamp. So this stamp leaves an impression or mark on the ice. And we made MTC mark for mutual trading just for today.
Aww. Look at that. Oh, it's
nice.
us.
So cool.
That's really gorgeous.
本当にありがとうございます。
Oh, wow.
And
And that's,
Naoto-san, will
waga.
you
Yes.
explain how long it takes to make that for people who have not done this before?
To make the mark on the ice?
Correct.
It's about a minute. Depends on the ice temperature and also the temperature of the plate. Because これやるのにどれぐらい何分ぐらいでできるかなこの
その氷につけてからってことかな。
うん。
大体10秒ぐらい。
I said 10 seconds. But again, it depends on the temperature of the plate and the ice.
How about how long it takes to receive the stamp or the brand? If a restaurant wants to order a custom-made brand for their ice, how long does it take to make that?
Depends on how complicated the design is, but typically from the order to the completion of the production, it's about 2 weeks. But again, or also it takes some time to ship it from Japan. We normally ship it with EMS. But right now they're stopping the EMS service, so we shipped this one with DHL, which took like 2 or 3 days. So total of 3 weeks would be the fastest, but sometimes it could take 4 weeks or 1.5 months if the complication, design is very complicated.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So okay. So we're going to go back to the slide. Right. Oh, went back from the beginning, sorry. All right, so we're going to talk about the Can you see the slide?
Yeah. Oh, yep, there it is.
Okay.
Kachiwari kids.
Okay. Cool. So we're gonna talk about the sustainability effort. So first, energy. Andy-san mentioned earlier, but we use completely different technology and method of making clear ice compared to US. So we use about a quarter much of energy compared to US clear ice manufacturing. And also in the US, we normally use heavy gauge plastic to make clear ice, but we use none of them. We only use plastic for packaging. So hopefully which offsets the emission for importing. And also social aspects, we participate in many community events and donations. So here we have a picture of us serving shaved ice to kindergartners because all the summer festivals were canceled. And I know, they are always looking for the festival every year. Here's some more pictures. We made a big ice block with colorful, little balls, so kids could try to dig with the finger and melt the ice to get the ice balls. It's very fun. So we're a very small company employing 13 people, but we're trying as hard as possible to contribute to our community, and we care about the environment. All right, here we have a nice picture of Kachiwari, and today, as Rachel mentioned, we're doing pre-orders and we're doing special pricing. So we're doing Kachiwari, we sell by 1 kilo or 2.2 pound bags. And this is going to be buy one, get one free. And spheres, it looks nice. So spheres, we're doing 20% off. So please try to pre-order right now because you're getting really good discount. And why do you want to pay extra for the ice rather than the quality? From business standpoint, you can sell the ice with your to-go cocktails. Or once the indoor dining restarts or reopens, many of my customers in West Coast or Las Vegas, they charge the ice with high-end whiskeys like $2 or $3 extra, so you can make extra profit. But most importantly, it's very Instagrammable. It looks very nice, and people can take pictures and share with friends, put on social media. So what's just very important because it gives great impression to your audience, and it's going to draw more customers. And here's our social media. We have Instagram account, and we have our website. So if you have any questions, you can DM us.
Naoto-san, I think what you just said was so cool because oftentimes we forget that our first point of entry or first point of contact with everything that we consume is with our eyes, and it's so important to remember that visual presentation is still extremely important, and especially for those brands lucky enough to be in operation like Rule of Thirds right now, who can stick that in front of a guest and it'll initially just wow them, which is so cool.
Yeah, thank you, Maxwell. So this concludes my presentation. Thank you for watching our presentation. And also thank you for everyone with New York Mutual Trading for having us.
An honor. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
So now we are going to hear from Asahi Shuzo from Kubota. Are you guys ready?
Thank you so much for introducing us, and thank you very much for New York Mutual Trading for having this opportunity today. I'm Kaoru from Kubota, Asahi Shuzo Sake Brewing. Let me start our presentation. Former company Kubota launched its business in 1830, and it incorporated and then changed the company name to Asahi Shuzo Sake Brewing. Asahi Shuzo has endeavored to brew sake of the highest quality from the water and the rice of Niigata and the efforts of the Niigata people. We believe that the great sake starts in the rice field. This is the photo around our neighbor. Niigata Prefecture is located along the Sea of Japan, takes 2 hours from Tokyo. Our city is called Nagaoka City, which is the second biggest city in Niigata. It is a water abundant place. We have Japan's longest river in that's called the Shinano River here, and also many tributaries flow nearby as well. It's very hot and humid in summer, and it's around 90 Fahrenheit, but it's freezing cold in the winter, which is around 20 Fahrenheit. However, this huge temperature difference allowed agriculture to grow really well. Our main brand name is Kubota. These are some of our Kubota products, and then I put our super premium sake called Tsugu on your far right. All of Kubota products follow clean and crisp finish. We call it kire in Japanese. We believe that sake with kire must be the best accompaniment to food. So let me start to talk from something very unique so that you can imagine our company has been coexisting with nature and the people in our neighbor. That's about our label. We use traditional tesuki washi paper on our label. We use for all the Kubota products, and some of which are cutted by machine. However, such as the one for Kubota manju, we can see the label with raw hem. This is a beautiful craftsmanship that we have been keeping for long years. Former president in our company was persistently to use all the material related to our products must be made in Niigata, and our label is one of them. So washi, wa means Japanese, and shi means paper, and it's handmade and using Asian traditions and local fibers. The ingredient is called the kozo, that is paper mulberry. We use only inner bark to make this tesuki washi paper. In the process, they conduct a unique process called snow bleaching. So the bark is laid out on the top of the snow like the picture, and it gets direct sunlight. Then also the snow melts and the reflection of the sun combines to increase the whitening effect. So the bark becomes more white, which will make the exact color of the label. They are making like this, and this tesuki washi is actually strong and durable. It can be said that you contribute to preserve this traditional culture when you buy Kubota. So hope you can check the label at your next time purchase. That's all for our label story, and then let me talk more about our company's initiatives. Quality first sake brewing based on safe and reliable production. In order to fit the times to meet the customer's need, all the facilities were innovated under stricter control system to produce highest quality products while keeping great wisdom. There are about 180 employees in total, and then everyone is aware it's this mission, then a contribution to the society. At first, we acquired ISO 9001 HACCP in 2019. So ISO means International Organization for Standardization. Then ISO 9001 is International Standard for the Quality of the Product and the organization as a whole. Then HACCP means Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point, which is a systematic preventative approach to food safety. Now it has become the world standard. And then let me talk more about the HACCP. Actually, this is very important for all of our facilities to ensure food safety regulation in order to develop production method. And also it enables us to identify potential food safety hazard and implement safeguards to ensure the safety, quality, and legal conformity of our products. Actually, this HACCP, the U.S. National Advisory Committee on Microbiological Criteria for Foods, reconvened our hazard analysis and the critical control point working group in 1995. And this committee again endorses HACCP as an effective and rational means of assuring food safety from harvest to consumption. There are 12 main critical control points, including 7 principles that we have to work in. So these principles include hazard analysis and CCP, identification, establishing the critical limits, the monitoring procedures and the corrective actions, verification procedures, and the record keeping and documentation. In addition to this keep record on a daily basis, we must take inspections conducted by a third-party institution every year. If you are interested in this more, please visit the FDA website. In addition to this certification, there are 2 more things we have been engaging. They are both related to environmental activities that Asahi Shuzo can do to the society. We have been doing these things for more than 30 years, which is long before the importance of sustainability got public attention. The first is environmental preservation, including water preservation and forest conservation. The second is pursuit of best quality rice, including traceability and farming research and education. As you know, the water is one of the main ingredients for sake production. So we do not ignore disposal of industrial waste. So how can we do that? We are protecting environment preserving through firefly conservation. Fireflies can only inhabit where the water is absolutely plentiful and crystal clean. We implement good environment by cleaning up the forest where the stream is located, as well as facilitating river flow. Moreover, we educate this importance to neighbors and kids at the school. You can see the green lights in the picture. This is actually the one fireflies are creating. And so about our water quality. Our water is categorized as soft water. The definition of water hardness is determined the amount of dissolved calcium and magnesium in the water. So our Asahi Shuzo's brewing water, it contains the 30 milligram per liter. Then about the Niigata prefecture's average would be around 30 to 50 milligram per liter. And this is outside of Niigata, that is actually located the west side of Japan. That's called the Nada region Miyami's water that contains 100 milligram per liter. Then for sake brewing water has stricter conditions than drinking water. In particular for iron and manganese. So basically the top water standards, the iron contains 0.3 ppm. As for manganese, contains 0.05 ppm or less. But brewing sake conditions, the both iron and manganese should be less than 0.02 ppm or even less.
To give folks a bit of a reference point for anybody in New York at least, 30 milligrams per liter is less than half as hard as our local tap.
Then, in addition to the water preservation, we are doing maple tree planting. We have been planting maple tree seedlings since 1989 with the local community and the KOJI Nature Foundation. The second is pursuit of the best quality of rice. Along with water, the rice is essential in brewing sake. Our area farmers have taken advantage of rich soil to grow rice since olden times, and it remains today as one of Japan's foremost rice growing regions. Working together with our contracted local farmers, we perform strict quality supervision to ensure the cultivation of only the highest quality sake rice. Main two things are A, traceability, working with contracted farmers, and B, the research and education to the next generation by Asahi Noken Ltd. So Asahi Noken is our subsidiary companies. They are handling with uncompromising pursuit of producing the highest quality sake brewing rice. The second is research for agricultural improvement as well as education to the next generation. So about our rice, all the rice we use is 100% made in Niigata. We use mainly Gohyaku Mangoku rice. This is because Gohyaku Mangoku is the best for making clean and crisp sake, which indeed leads to our motto of making sake like the best accompaniment to food. By using all the ingredients that I mentioned so far, the sake liquid goes to the facility in the yellow circle. By the way, this is the whole picture of our headquarters. The place in the yellow circle, we fill sake liquid into bottles. So the place where they marked in red is called Environmental Preservation Center, which deals with wastewater. I take a bottle of Kubota Senju as an example. As for ingredients, we use quality checked water and the rice controlled by Asahi Shuzo Ltd. Then as for the product packages, as for bottling, the bottle glass and the cap are traceable by the production lot. As for the label, we use handmade washi paper. Even after the production process, we still have to deal with a couple of things. As for the polished rice powder, after polishing the rice grain, we have a polished rice powder, and it goes to the confectionery factories for making rice crackers. It can be used for livestock feed or making cooking oil. As for sake leaves, after fermentation process in sake production, the mixture is called moromi, and it is going to be separated with sake liquid and the sake leaves, and then we sell this sake leaves too. Also, other manufacturers buy it in order to make processed food or even use it as just as it is. It is highly nutritious, therefore it is very popular here in Japan. As for wastewater, it is going to get treatment at the Environmental Protection Center. That's where I marked in red. The wastewater goes through settling tank to take emergent filtering, and is sent to aeration tanks to conduct purification by using bacteria. And then the purified water can be finally discharged. So let me inform our product information. We just sorted out 2 Kubota products today. The first one is Kubota Senju. That's our best-selling item. And then it's the best accompaniment to food. That is the standard dry type sake. You can enjoy it both chilled and warm. The second recommendation is Kubota Junmai Daiginjo. Of course, this is Junmai Daiginjo grade, which is the highest grade in all the sake grade. Then that is a totally different taste compared to the first one called the Kubota Senju. This is like a very smooth and a very fruity and easy to drink. Then we should recommend to have it with chilled. With a wine glass would be the perfect. Actually, we passed on some recipes that you can enjoy with Kubota, and everything is easy to make and a great pairing. And also you can find some cocktail recipes there too. Also, we have our Facebook account under the name of Kubota Sake Global, and you can find the detailed information about sake production or some event happened outside of Japan. I would have highly appreciated if you could follow Facebook and check our website. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Rachel-san. I'll get back to you.
Thank you, Kaoru.
Thank you, Max Wilson.
Okay, I think that was an amazing presentation. If anyone has questions, we'll try and save them for the end for everybody, but now we are going to transition into Izumibashi Shuzo. So take the floor, please.
OK。OK？OK？ 大丈夫ですか？
大丈夫です。
大丈夫ですか？じゃあ始めさせていただきます。First of all, thank you very much to all the teams at MTC New York, especially Rachel, Sarah, and Maxwell. I thank you for your hard work. Hello, welcome to Izumibashi Sake Brewery. My brewery was founded in 1857 and 163 years now. I'm Yuichi Hashiba and 6th generation owner. And I'm with Kayoko Abe. She's our brand ambassador. She's located in Washington, D.C. If you have any questions, please contact her. Where is Kayoko-san? This This is our company philosophy. これ次かね。エンターさん。言ってないよ。もっと近くに。Sorry. This is our company philosophy. We are determined to produce only the finest quality sake by hand. We use sustainable farming practices, cultivating and polishing our own rice. Next is about Izumibashi Brewery. We are crafting our sake from field to bottle. This is a very rare case in Japan. Most breweries purchase their rice from outside organizations. We are one of very few who carefully handle every step from the rice fields to the final product. We manage the rice fields 46 hectares in total. Next is about our motto. Great sake begins in the rice fields. We use sustainable practices in farming and brewing to protect our people, the planet, and the future of Izumibashi. We only produce Junmashi sake with no additives or added alcohol. This sake is made from only 4 ingredients: rice, pure water, yeast, and KOJI. It's the purest form of sake. Our sustainable farming practices ensure that pesticides are used only as a very last resort. In most cases, we never use them. Our brewery keeps the tradition of using Kuramoto method when producing our yeast culture. My brewery is located in Kanagawa Prefecture, south of Tokyo. It's one of the closest breweries to the center of Tokyo, 1 hour by train from Tokyo Station. When you visit Tokyo, I recommend that you also visit Izumibashi. This is a map around my brewery. Tanzaro Mountains is located in the western half of Kanagawa Prefecture, and it's also a water source area. 3 rivers start from there, and my brewery is located in the plains and agricultural areas that those rivers created long ago. As a result of excavation, it's so famous that the rice has been cultivated for at least 2,200 years. We grow our rice at 5 rice fields on the right side of the central flowing Sagami River. It's about 25 kilometers from upstream to downstream. There are differences in the soil and climate, and we enjoy the differences as the difference between sake and taste. This is a photograph of rice field of Ebiner. The white building in the center is my brewery. You can see the Tanzaro Mountains on your right. On the right is a picture of the rice in the morning. I took this picture when walking my dog. You can see the moisture droplet spark in the sun. Next is the story of water and water supply. The rich water produced by Tanzaro Mountains is used for rice fields as an irrigation system. Also, natural water for sake brewing is subsoil pump water from 100 meters underground. The water is high minerals and hard water. Hard water makes dry sake with mineral character. We believe it's a challenge to produce delicate and balanced sake with this water. And we use special techniques at our brewery to accomplish this. Next is about sake rice. which we cultivate in Kanagawa Prefecture. One is Yamada Nishiki. Yamada Nishiki is the most famous and expensive in Japan. Yamada Nishiki cultivate in Kanagawa is ranked 20th out of 47 prefectures, and Izumibashi is the biggest grower of Yamada Nishiki in Kanagawa. The other is Rakfumai. This is the latest sake rice made in 2011. Currently, Izumibashi is the only rice cultivator in Japan. Next is about Rakfumai 2. It's a cross of Dontokoi, a table rice, and Guyakumangoku. It produces sake with very bright and clean aromas and flavors. 2 years ago, NHK Evening News in Japan introduced my brewery's drone-based agriculture. Our company is using drones to conduct experiments to analyze the growth of rice to improve taste of aroma of sake.
はい、ドローンが飛んでいるのはですね、カマン島の田んぼの上空です。神奈川県と慶応大学の協力で上空からカメラで撮影し、稲の生育状況を効率的に調べる実験を行っているんです。
田んぼには実はムラがあるんだっていうことがもっとね上から見てさらにこう全体像が理解できたらよりいいものにしたいっていうことです。田んぼにはムラがある。
はい、これまでは人が色の濃さや畑を見て稲の生育状況を判断していました。
水道を結局強く与えて今養分をもっとしてるっていう感じ。多ければその後追肥っていうのはやらなくても大丈夫。水道状態と変わってしまうので。
The use of IT technology to produce high-quality crops is called precision agriculture. We value the fusion of traditional style and modern technology in agriculture. Dragonfly live in our paddies. They are the symbol of good luck, strength, and future fortune in battle. We preserve these natural creatures in our paddies to keep our life and the planet healthy. Here you can see the cycle of farming through the season. We invite our customers from all over the world. Our sake are made by hand. Here you can see our workers stirring shubo using the Kimoto technique, making koji, pressing sake, and more. Introducing Izumibashi sake labels. Left is traditional Izumibashi in Japanese. Right is dragonfly. We designed the life of dragonfly for labels. In winter label, you can see a snowman. In winter label, you can see the egg of dragonfly, egg, and in summer is baby. In autumn is lovers. These are sake that are actually currently available in USA. Our signature blue bottle won the gold medal at the 2020 Kuramoto in Paris. Thank you so much for your support. Some of you have sake to taste. Let's taste the 2 years aged black dragonfly Kimoto together. We are very excited to announce that we have several new sake coming to the USA soon. This one is our most prized project. It's made from the new sake rice Rakfumai, polished to 35% and use the Kimoto method. We are very excited to present these two to the USA with some other new items. One of other Junmai Daiginjo, sparkling and umesh are also coming soon. Thank you for supporting our most special sake. We hope you will follow us on social media. Here are the links. And since our brand ambassador Kayo-san is here in the States, after COVID-19 is over, we will visit you and have some events together. Thank you so much for your attention. Your business is very important to us. We appreciate having you as a part of the Izumibashi family. Thank you. Please.
Thank you, Hashida-san.
ありがとうございます。
So,
Thank you.
yeah, it was wonderful. This is as good of time as any. If anybody in the audience has any questions for any of our presenters, please feel free to either type them in or otherwise hold your peace. Rachel, Sarah, did you guys have any questions that you wanted to ask?
May I? So we were wondering about the difference between growing Rakufumai and Yamada Nishiki. In what way is one difficult or easy? ラクフマイと山田錦の育ちに関してはどういうふうに違うんでしょうか。どこが難しいか、どこが、軽くできてもいいところがあるとか、そういう情報を。
Okay. English? English. Yes. Rakufumai is a shorter stem and early maturing rice. That is Japanese wase. That's easy to grow and can be harvested in mid-September. And Yamada Nishiki is a very long stemmed, late growing rice. Okute. That is hard to grow and will be harvested after mid-October. And 両方の、要は、両方作ることで我々たくさんお米を作ることができます。
So we have a few questions that just popped into the chat. The first is Rakufumai an heirloom variety?
Yeah. Yes. Yamada Nishiki's taste is it has a delicious taste and including umami component. Just simple oishi. Rakufumai taste is pure clean, easy to polish. It can be harvested earlier than other sake rice.
Maxwell, the Rakufumai is a crossing of Gohyaku Mangoku and the table rice. So it's not actually an heirloom rice in the same way that omachi is, but it would be less susceptible also to being blown over in bad weather, like in the typhoon. So this is a trend with a lot of sake rice to make very high quality rice that is a little easier to grow and less likely to be lost if the weather is bad.
Got it. And another question that came through from the same individual was about what the method for making the sparkling sakes are. In other words, how are you producing sparkling sake at your brewery?
じゃあどうやってその泡お酒を作ってると。
日本語でいいですか？
もちろんもちろん。
甘めのお酒を作って瓶の中で二次発酵させます。In a bottle, second fermentation. And then after fermentation, we pasteurize the sake. And then my company's sparkling sake is not namazake. Okay? Pasteurized sake, but sparkling.
Very interesting. Was that clear?
Not clear.
Not
cloud.
clear. So
Not
there's
clear. Okay.
ちょっと濁ってる.
ちょっと濁ってる。Yes.
So it's a little bit cloudy. That's beautiful.
You were crystal clear. The sake isn't. So, okay. That's all we have from the chat on.
Oh, there's one more question. Somebody asked about when the sparkling nigori is going to be available. We're currently waiting for the TTB registration, the U.S. government, to clear the sake for import. And although things have been moving slowly on that front recently due to the pandemic, we're checking every day to see when we can finally import this new sake.
That's
do we have time for one more question?
I think so.
I actually have a question for Andy. Is he still here? I don't see him.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, Andy.
So Andy, when we were talking earlier about the cocktail, we were talking a little bit about how some places prefer to use mass-produced ingredients, maybe because they feel like they're less expensive. And I thought you might be able to speak a little bit about how you might price this cocktail and about the margin that a person can expect to make by even choosing to have higher quality ingredients like what you used.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're doing price per margin for cocktails, I think labor is one thing that a lot of people miss on putting that into their specs or into their PPLs. And so for a cocktail like the one that I showcased, the Aka October, I would sell it for, in a New York City market, probably $14, $15. I think in other markets they can go for 12 to 13. But what is the cost for Korkor, an Isho bean of Sudachi that will probably last you enough for, you know, the entire season? And then cases of pineapple that can then be reused in other aspects of your program. You're then left with probably a cocktail that in-house costs relatively, I would say, in the $1.15 mark, I would say, because you're only using 3/4 of an ounce of the spirit itself, which is usually the most expensive component into creating cocktails. And so now you have to marginalize, you know, the plastic cups that you're using, and for the to-go orders, or the lids, or paper straws, you know. And so it all kind of adds up and builds up in the end. So you want to maybe start focusing on, you know, bigger flavors, but monetizing them to a smaller room to kind of play with, and utilizing other ingredients that can kind of facilitate and instill a good drink that meets your price per cocktails, and can be utilized every single day.
I just think it's really interesting because a lot of times people are looking at ways to support local, you know, so they're supporting, like in your area, you know, the local Hudson farmer for the shiso. And then it seems odd in a way to buy a rum from so far away. But, you know, in the same way, you're supporting a tiny little local, you know, producer. So you're still doing something to support the little guy, even if they're not just your neighbor. And the fact that you can do that, just to what Maxwell's point was, of taking something that's traveled almost, you know, 7,000 miles to be here, and then price it in a way that you can still make a really strong margin on, I think is pretty amazing, and something that people should be encouraged to experiment with. So thank you for sharing the cocktail with everybody.
And let's be clear, I mean, like, Andy, the average cocktail price in New York is what you're describing right now. And that could be made of, you know, an industrialized vodka, commercialized cranberry juice, and, you know, limes farmed in Mexico, and to make a Cosmo, for instance. And so what you're talking about at that price point is actually extremely valuable from a consumer price point standpoint, insofar as what it would cost people to drink anyways at any bar or restaurant in New York. So it's kind of amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just to piggyback off of what you said in the very beginning, the hardest distance to sell is that last 10 feet, you know, and so if you have someone who, one, believes in the product, believes in the ingredients, and has the tools and the skills to facilitate themselves in that drink, then, you know, it's going to be a no-brainer for one, the business, one, and also the individual, to showcase that and to share that with the other folks that are coming through and enjoying their days, and they somehow are going to be enthralled with such an interesting experience and having a drink in their cup that is, you know, to go, and just something that makes them think that, oh, there's hope, you know, there's a future to this, there's people that I can lie shoulder to shoulder with as we are doing today. So yeah, I think really it's the last 10 feet that goes the furthest, and who knows how far that distance can go on the other end of it.
I love that. It's the last 10 feet that go the furthest. Masai-san, do we have someone to draw for our raffle? I think we have no further questions.
Yeah, I have it ready whenever everybody's go with questions. Okay, so we've randomly drawn people someone from our list here. I do see a hand up.
Sorry, what is it, Masai-san? You cut out a bit.
Sorry, there's a hand up.
A hand up?
Yeah. I don't know if Fumihiro Kanagai-san, if they have a question.
We could unmute them temporarily.
I can't unmute them. I'm asking to unmute.
Okay, well, while we're waiting, I guess I'll let you know who our winner is. Our winner is Vonda Freeman.
Oh.
I guess Sarah knows who that is.
I do.
So,
it's my friend.
Well, we'll send you a shout, Vonda, and we'll get you get your address from you so we can send you your raffle prize of your glasses. Excited. And I've also put the order form in the chat for everybody. You'll also end up on that link once we're closed out, but just if you need it, you have it right in front of you there.
Awesome. Thank you, Masai.
Yes, thank you.
And congratulations, Vonda Freeman.
She texted me. She's so excited. So thank you so much.
Let's see. I think we have time for one more question. Did Kanegai-san get a chance to unmute? Fumihiro Kanegai-san?
I don't think so.
Well, then I suppose if we have time for one last question, I wanted to ask Asahi Shuzo why they decided to switch to all local Niigata grown rice. What was the thought process behind that decision?
Sorry, Rachel-san. Yes, we actually switched to sell the old local Niigata grown rice in 1998. That we didn't use so much of rice grown outside of Niigata though, but you know, we are local brewery, so we all decided to only Niigata local rice since then.
I see. So it's more of a supporting local culture.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You guys are very big on that. You have a lot of like community events and like a lot of local things going on. What kind of
Yes, we
events
do. Yes, we do. We hold a tea ceremony at the Shoraikaku Villa, which actually used to be our founder's residence, and then now it was accredited one of the Japan's important cultural properties in
Whoa.
2018. And also we have a classical concert at our entrance hall. So we have a lot, the many things to enjoy together. And I hope you guys all visit our brewery. It is not only about sake production. You guys also enjoy the eating and going sightseeing and everything.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Sure.
And thank you everybody who's tuned in for the first day of this New York Mutual Trading virtual JFRE, Japanese Food and Restaurant Expo. Thank you to every single panelist who took the time to tune in and to work on such beautiful collections of information and photographs and videos. And thank you to all our customers who popped in. I'm looking forward to seeing you all again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
お疲れ様。
お疲れ様です。失礼します。
失礼します。
です。
ありがとう。